So yesterday, someone in the Printify Facebook group asked why her POD store just wasn't taking off even after 1,000 plus sales and 30K in revenue. She thought it was a traffic problem. It wasn't. It was a focus problem. And I guarantee you, she's not the only one stuck like this. 2 years into POD, full-time job, kids, runs a nonprofit, and still found time to build an Etsy store that's done over 30K in sales. That's incredible. She's had bestsellers, 5-star reviews, and yet she's stuck at 1 sale a day after 2 whole years. Sound familiar? I saw that post and I had to jump in because this exact pattern, I see it all the time. So today I'm going to walk you through the exact advice I gave her, and more importantly, I'm going to show you the free bot I built that fixes the problem for good that my inner circle members have been testing out with amazing results for a few weeks already now. It's my Jay's Way Ideal Customer Profiler. No fluff, no trend chasing, just putting the blinders on and getting focused starting right now. First, you got to stop calling it a side hustle because your brain is listening to you. Sounds weird, but hear me out. The second you say this, your brain files it under casual or optional or not urgent. But let me ask you this. Are you putting in 10 hours or 15 or even 20 hours a week? You're tackling sales, tweaking listings, doing research, staying up late designing? That's not a hustle. Newsflash, that's a business. And then the second you treat it like one, you start making decisions differently. You start cutting the noise and you stop chasing shiny new ideas or trends of the week. You get clear. You get hyper-focused. And this one mindset shift changes absolutely everything. You don't have a traffic problem, you have a focus problem. Everyone thinks they have a traffic problem. Low views, inconsistent sales, Etsy ads that don't convert. But when you actually zoom out, it's not about traffic. It's about focus and design. And in that Facebook post, she listed all her products. Tees, sweatshirts, house flags, mugs, totes, canvas wall art. She said they were her best sellers. No, they weren't. It was too random to even identify a real bestseller. So I told her straight up, they're not all your best sellers. The issue here is that Etsy doesn't know who your store is for. She said her main niches were so far apart and unrelated, like fishing and knitting. So I said that's like walking into a yarn shop one week to buy yarn, and then next week seeing fishing rods, being your 20 newest Etsy listings, being right in front as soon as you walk in. You pause, you second guess, and you bounce. And that 3-second pause is enough to kill 80% of your potential sales. You don't need more eyeballs. You need clarity. So the right people show up and stick around and then buy and go home and come back and buy again because they know that they can expect more new things just for them. And that brings me to part 3, which is defining your ideal customer. Not enough people talk about this, and the ones that do seem to make it this like mystical thing that is so confusing and convoluted. But once I told her to narrow it down, she asked a classic follow-up. But my niches are really different. Should I split my store? That's the wrong question. The real question is, who are you designing for? The issue is just that she hadn't defined her ideal customer. So I told her, download your Etsy CSV, look at what's actually selling objectively here, and build your store around the people that are already buying. And if she couldn't see any patterns, upload the CSV file into ChatGPT and get a real 100% objective analysis. Let the data tell you who your store is actually serving, not who you think it is just because you're emotionally attached to some of your designs. To help her visualize it, I gave her 3 crystal clear customer examples to work from based on her knitting niche example. 1 is the edgy, sarcastic DIY knitter. Age would be 25 to 40, anti-mainstream, and proudly says, fuck fast fashion. 2 would be the soft, sentimental mama-to-be, expecting, age 30 to 40, crochets while nesting and loves slow living and baby prep. 3 is the dry, humored, low-key, badass grandpa. Yeah, grandpa, age 60 to 75, who knits his own damn socks and proudly, rocks shirts that says real men knit their own socks. These are not vague personas. These are real customers with real specific vibes, voices, and completely different emotional buying triggers. And yes, they all fall under the knitting or crochet niche. When you define your ideal customers clearly, everything else just gets easier. Your designs get sharper, your listings speak louder, and your store finally makes sense to both customers and the Etsy algorithm. So after breaking this down in the conversation, she asked the next logical question. Okay, but how do I actually figure out who my ideal customers are? And you are not alone in asking that question. So I built a tool that makes this completely idiot-proof. It's the Jay's Way Ideal Customer Profiler GPT. And here's how it works. You ready for this? You might want to take notes. Kidding. You type in your niche. That's literally it. And boom, it builds out 5 detailed customer profiles for you. We're talking their vibe, their tone, what they actually buy, what triggers them emotionally. That's probably the most important. And how you should speak to them in your designs and listings. No more guessing, no more chasing every trend some YouTuber told you was hot. Just real direction based on how your niche actually thinks and shops. And now I'm going to walk you through it live. Let's dive in. So you can come here and click on any of the ones that it's offering as a starting point. But the more specific you are with this, the better you're going to get for results. So instead of saying nurses, for example, we could say something like night shift nurse. And here we go. 5 distinct ideal customer profiles for the night shift nurse. Emotionally resonant slogans, product ideas, and design suggestions to fuel your print-on-demand offerings. We've got the Midnight Warrior here. 25 to 40, female leaning but inclusive, night shift nurse at hospitals or ERs. They value resilience, self-minded, and caffeine-fueled humor. They're a bit edgy, they're proud, they're weary but unbreakable. Emotional triggers and motivations here. I survived the chaos and look badass doing it. That's the vibe, right? That's the kind of, the aesthetic that you're going to want to give them. Right away, I'm thinking like white text, on dark shirts, on black, the kind of like anti, you know what I mean? Some phrase ideas here: caffeine, courage, and code blues. Night shift, powered by coffee and chaos. I give afternoon off the middle finger, right? Again, that badass anti kind of vibe. Product ideas here could be black tea with glow in the dark ink, if you can find a provider for that. I know if you were thinking to do screen printing, there is such a thing. So that could be something really cool. Insulated coffee tumbler, slouchy hoodie, embroidered with Night Shift Nation. You got font suggestions here. And we have social caption starters. So this is what you could put at the start of, those Instagram ads you see, or in a post in your Facebook group if you create one to cater to your niche market. It's a great way to grow your brand. Survived another code, show your warrior side, and then boom, here's the product or the ad, right? Tag your night owl nurse who thrives after dark. This is a call to action. So it's a great way to get some engagement and get other nurses tagging their friend, because you're kind of like your own family. Customer profile number 2 is the gritty caregiver. So they're 35 to 55, a seasoned nurse here, any gender, juggling family and life. They're compassionate but drained, and they value balancing life and burnout awareness. And they've got emotional triggers here. So I care deeply, but sometimes I'm running dry. So, they're on the cusp of burnout here, right? So a very, very different ideal customer than the first one, but still another nurse. May contain tears and tired smiles. Nurse by night, parent by day, hero always. Grit, grace, repeat. Products, again, cozy crew neck sweatshirts, because I've worked shift work, but I know from 12-hour shifts that sometimes you just take that lunch break and you go have a nap because you're burnt out. Maybe you've worked doubles, things like that, right? So a cozy crew neck sweater would do the trick here, instead of, maybe borrowing somebody's blanket or not being mean enough to, repo your blanket from somebody you just loaned to who happened to still be sleeping or using it. Because everybody kind of takes care of each other that way, right? Of course, a travel mug, a zip top tote if possible, which works perfectly because my sister, for example, is a mental health nurse, and if a patient was to grab it and the top wasn't closed, it would spill and scatter everywhere. Design tips here: we got some captions for the socials. For the ones running on kindness and caffeine, this one's for you. Sometimes grit looks like asking for help. Then we've got a shift slayer here, 22 to 32, bold, pride and toughness and confronting drama head on. Sarcastic, rebellious, a little irreverent, adores memes and dark humor. Emotional drivers here, bring it on. I've seen worse at 3 a.m. than you could possibly ever imagine. You can't scare me, I'm a nurse, that kind of thing, right? I slay shift and sometimes dragons. Black unisex tee, a beanie or a hard brim cap. Something, again, looking, pretty tough and rebellious, right? And then tag a fellow shift slayer who can't be tamed. The care whisperer. So somebody who's 30 to 50, calm, spiritual, emotionally intelligent nurse. They're mindful, they're holistic, they're healing focused, and often practices yoga or meditation. Now you're getting a picture here, right? Somebody else completely different from this one right here. They pride themselves on bringing peace to chaos. Definitely way more zen. Inhale peace, exhale panic. Totally speaks to them, right? Namaste and navigating nighttime chaos. You're going to find teas in most of these here as product suggestions because I sell t-shirts and I believe almost every, ideal customer could benefit from a t-shirt in some way or another. And they're the most searched print-on-demand product by far with absolutely no slowing down here. And then we've got the Night Navigator now. So 28 to 45, career-focused nurse invested in growth and community. They're ambitious, they're organized, right? They're the go-getter looking to make it up the ranks potentially. Sees night shift as an opportunity for advancement. They're looking for that resume notch. It's almost like the nursing equivalent of seeing action if you're in the military, right? It's a resume notch to actually have gotten deployed. Emotional drivers here are building my future shift by shift. Night shift hustle, day shift goals, grind now, shine later. And then after your 5 ideal customers, it moves right into trend checks and saturation notes, right? So themes like I survived night shift and powered by coffee are trending, but they're widely used. So here's some fresh angles. Grit and empathy mashups like gritty caregiver. Think holistic or spiritual, the care whisperer. Or career-oriented hustle, the Night Navigator, right? So it's pointing you to the ideal customers based on fresh angles here. And of course, use some humorous edginess or purpose-driven bends to stand out. And yeah, it'll give you some next steps, so pick and polish, right? Choose 1 or 2 profiles that resonate. Narrow your design tools, so limit to 3 font pairings, 3 color sets, and then of course, design touches, right? So pick some illustration motifs and stick in the same vein for those, next 3 designs. And then it'll follow up asking if you want some more slogan ideas, help crafting the Etsy or Amazon titles or keywords for the specific profile, deeper dive into 20 plus hooks, related niche ideas, maybe PAs or night shift techs. It's not only the nurses that are in the room at night or in the ER, you've got respiratory anesthesiologists, you got all kinds of different techs that are in there as well. And you can continue here with a next niche or kind of refine a little further, but if you're going to switch niches, I recommend starting with a new chat. So let's do another one here. We can just click on right here. My niche is new moms. This is also a gold mine for a niche. So we have the sleep deprived supermom, 25 to 35 with first baby, mostly urban or potentially suburban, juggling late night feedings, loving every minute, value support, humor, and anything that normalizes exhaustion, right? Because that's a real thing. Hobbies or values could be coffee runs, mommy groups, and finding the corner of sanity. Motivations are feeling seen, validated, and celebrated, and maybe literally being awake. They're witty, real, and slightly sarcastic. Then we've got the wellness warrior, so 28 to 38, maybe 3 to 6 month old baby, eco-conscious. They eat clean, they do gentle yoga workouts, they want balance in their lives, they value yoga, organic foods, walks with a stroller. They're into self-care. They want to be a healthy role model and motivated by inner calm. Personality triggers here would be calm, nurturing, and aspirational. Those are the things that you're going to want to, cater to when you're designing here. Again, 7 phrase ideas, peace, love, and pee diapers, being real here. Then we've got the proud milestone mom. So you've got 26 to 34 documenting every single milestone. We've all seen those moms. Even our friends are some of those moms. Obsessed with the first moments, crawling, first words, first day in kindergarten, last day of kindergarten, first 100 days of kindergarten, right? We know those moms. Half of you are watching this right now. Looking at scrapbooking, Instagram stories, milestone stickers, and their motivations are capturing memories, bragging rights, my kid did this, and preserving time. They want to make sure that memory lasts or that moment lasts forever. Then we got the social media Instamom. So 22 to 32, first, second baby maybe, heavy on Instagram and Reels. They love aesthetics, photo ops, and quote-worthy teas. Their motivations are likes, engagement, and influence. They want to be, influencers. You got your phrase ideas, you can read through that, and then we got the support group bestie, right? So somebody who's 30 to 40, multiple kids, maybe a newcomer mom on their second or third, and they're in virtual mom groups. They love group texts, Zoom check-ins, sharing advice. Motivations are togetherness, solidarity, and helping others. Motivating each other in support groups, right? Warm, relatable, supportive. Been there, burped that. You are enough, mama. And we all know the word mama on its own is getting clicks right now. And let's do one finally that my wife and I are working on for our new shop. And the more specific you can get, the better the results. So I got 40-something who left the 9-to-5 toxic grind and moved to the Caribbean islands. So we got the Island Time escapee, female, 42, single or divorced, right? Ex-marketing exec, now runs a chill Airbnb or online coaching biz. A lot of the people down here are, starting over in some way or another, right? They love minimalism, prioritizes peace over a paycheck. They value time freedom, mental health, and authentic living. Personality is calm but fiery, deeply intentional. Little woo. That's kind of funny. Emotional triggers here are burnout recovery and proving you can start over. We've got the midlife maverick. So male, 47, formerly in finance. Divorced dad, now remote consultant or boat tour operator. Those actually exist here. This is crazy. Adventure seeker, a bit of a lone wolf, listens to reggae and old school rock. Emotional triggers are proving he didn't throw it all away. He found something better. And this actually hits me because when we were making the decision to come down here, even before that, quitting my toxic corporate job, most people, including my dad, was repeatedly telling me not to quit that toxic corporate job. He just said, it's the good job. You know, you're getting paid well, you got pension, you got benefits. But the prospect for me of, staying stuck for another like 25 years to retire in that corporate crappiness with like another 17 years of impending mortgage, that sounded like a terrible idea to me. But this is the reality, right? So, you spend part of your time before you come into your own proving that you didn't throw it all away. Sunburnt and sovereign. Mortgage, I bought a boat. This could be mortgage, no boat loan, right? You could have mortgage, the word crossed out, and just boat loan. Risked it for the rum. This is funny. The Zenpreneur. So we got female, 45, digital nomad, yoga instructor, online course creator. There's actually a few of those down here too. Spiritual journey vibes. Post sunrise affirmations. Values alignment, slow living, and nature connection. They're gentle, radiant, and deeply self-aware. Their emotional triggers are being seen and celebrated for leaving the matrix and honoring intuition. Going with their gut, a sense of pride there. These are awesome. I'm going to have to save this chat. The Beachfront Rebellion. So we've got gender neutral 40s, queer friendly, anti-capitalist, ex-corporate rebel, now hosting retreats or crafting artisan goods. These people are literally people I see walking around. It's crazy. Political, they're progressive, they're tatted, maybe polyamorous, ethically sustainable, everything. They're bold, they're expressive, and not afraid to challenge the status quo. Makes sense if they've been fighting the good fight their entire lives, right? Emotional triggers here are rage against the system, joy from self-liberation, and anti-hustle pride. Skipping to the last of 5 here is the rum-soaked philosopher. Male, 44, ex-tech bro or writer, now running a beach bar or writing memoirs by the shore. They're a deep thinker. They read Bukowski and Hemingway and post long rants about freedom and island paradoxes. They value truth, authenticity. I'm laughing because there's people that just sit at the bar and go on about this stuff. They made $1 million, sold their tech kind of company or whatever. And yeah, this is a real person. Sarcastic, occasionally nihilistic, but still lovable. Absolutely. Emotional triggers here are lost dreams made whole, dry humor about island life. Funny examples here for phrases on a shirt. Less meetings, more mojitos. Beach bar philosopher since 2022. These are magic. And now, do you want more phrases for these ideal customers, right? So this is the absolute goldmine here. And this is what most sellers miss. Because with all the coaches out here in YouTube land, nobody is telling you the whys behind the hows. You don't need 1,000 more products, and you don't need more traffic. You need clarity. Define who you're talking to, design with intention, and let the algorithm do its damn job. My ideal customer profiler GPT gives you that clarity, fast, free, and idiot-proof. If this hits, drop a comment and let me know that it helps. And smack that subscribe button because I'm going to be walking through the designs I created for the new shop based around profiles generated with my profile. And so you don't waste another quarter stuck spinning your wheels. You're not starting over. You're starting to get dialed in.